Yeah, and I make the point, and you made it very well there. I mean, in my editorial, that you've got to have your best team on the field, your most intellectual team. No leader should be spooked by anyone that's smarter than her or more experienced than her or anything like that. That's what you want. It's the only chance you've got to beat Labor. Let's go to the announcements today from the AEC. The Victorian Federal Senate results are there. Labor's picked up the final spot. That's given them 3 senators. As it stands, Tom Connell says that Labor's projected to win some 30 seats, but at a minimum of 28, they'll still need the Greens. The Greens there will help them pass legislation. There's still a count going on in Bradfield, of course, and in Goldstein. It's a partial recount. Bradfield's interesting, of course, because the woman there, Giselle Kaptarian, if she wins, and she's never been an MP, she is parachuted straight onto the front bench. She's a key moderate out of New South Wales there for Susan Lee. But you've got a pretty interesting story about a journalist being signed in by the Greens to the Bradfield count. Caroline, what can you tell us?
Yes, Peter, a 9 senior political journalist was signed into the counting centre in Bradfield. It's at Asquith on Sydney's north last week, and that was Australian Financial Review chief political correspondent for New South Wales, Paul Karp. Now, and I've got a picture of the sign-in sheet showing this. He was signed in by the Greens, the New South Wales Greens member, on Thursday last week as a scrutineer for the far left party. Now, that's in spite of him being a reporter, and 2 witnesses I spoke to at the centre telling me that they didn't see him doing any scrutineering, that he was instead seen doing news gathering or listening to conversations. Now, I've spoken to the Australian Election Commission, and they tell me that Mr. Karp was appointed by a candidate in the contest to be a scrutineer, and he did attend a counting centre. And we did have a discussion with Paul about his presence. It's our understanding that Mr. Karp has not returned as a scrutineer since that day. Now, I'm told that it was a member of the New South Wales Greens who signed him in as a scrutineer, but it was on the understanding that it was for media purposes, and that this plan to gain access to the centre this way had been pre-approved by Nine management. I got a statement from Nine. They've said that Mr. Karp was wearing his identity, his Nine ID at all times, and he left the counting centre of his own accord, and there are no plans to report on the counting process. The AFR understands its responsibilities in regard to AEC processes and has reinforced these with the reporter. Now, of course, Bradfield is the tightest seat in this election. There's currently the recount happening there, as you mentioned. Last week, it was still the end of counting and distributing the preferences, and Giselle Kaptarian, the Liberal candidate, was ahead by just 8 votes. So that triggered an automatic recount of the seat. It's a fascinating contest, so you can understand why reporters want to have access to what's happening there. But the thing is that you can also approach the AEC, and they have had opportunities for media to go and look at what's happening with their approval in a legitimate way. So it's curious that this took place, and apparently with Nine approval.
I think it's pretty bizarre, actually. I think it's bizarre and possibly pretty troubling. Let's go to that good news out of Queensland. The Crisafulli government, Nick, has nixed the Moonlight Range wind farm. This is in central Queensland. I know you've done a lot about this in your blog, and I say to my viewers, if you're not on Nick's blog, Reality Bites, please get onto it. But you've had a close look at how destructive this has been. I also make the point too, there's some 100 other such projects being looked at very closely by the Crisafulli government, thank God, because other states seem to be rubber stamping them.
Yeah, thank goodness sanity has been restored, Peter. I mean, I've been watching this over the last 3 years, And the number of sites, highly sensitive native vegetation, native habitat, hundreds of hectares of koala habitat, for instance, hundreds of hectares of powerful owl, the ghost bat, the list goes on. And these have just gone under the bulldozer on the approval of the Queensland government and Tanya Plibersek, the former Environment Minister. It's just been mind-blowing. And at last, the Christodoulou government has stood up to this renewable energy bandwagon and is saying, no, you cannot save the planet by destroying the earth. That's essentially what they're doing. So I think this is a real turning point in the debate. It's the first decision that the Queensland government has knocked back, and it's one of the very few that have actually been overturned. Let's hope that this is the start of many more where the assessments are made, given full account of the actual damage to the natural environment and to our native wildlife.